Welcome, welcome, welcome. Guys, we've been very deliberately selfish with our guys online. We've been giving them snippets. So for us, we get the full buffet. For them, they get coconio. So many of them have been asking, but how can I be part of that? And I'm like, yeah, this is what it takes to be part of this. But we have actually capped the numbers to manageable numbers, because then we need to be able to do the work, okay? Because the more we are, that means that I'm not going to be able to follow up. I want to be able to have a manageable number, and that is why we are the ones. So for the people out there, there is another cohort. We have an intersection of the cohort. So when you hear the coconio, where we are going to stop giving you, because we will give you a quota of this session, but where we're going to stop giving you and you feel you want more, there is an intersection of another cohort coming, so you can be able to sign up and be able to join us. But yeah, Guma. All right, so today I want us to talk about something that I actually didn't give a name, because this comes from more from an angle of us being able to build wealth, all right? But using all the pillars that we must be able to use as people helpers. Because the end game, the beginning or the start of this, we are purpose chasers, right? We chase purpose, we deliver transformation, we serve the people, we help them in their lives and with their problems, but we must be able to articulate, like, what are we working with? And then when we get to that time of actually making the money or building the wealth, how can we manage that wealth as well? How can we manage that? So we're going to talk about all the in-between. So this is going to be more of a stretch session from the conception of what your purpose is to when you can actually make the money, to how you manage that money, but more than anything is how you manage your end of the deal in this whole thing, all right? So it's going to be quite dynamic. And I thought about this while I was thinking about my journey. So most of the things that I'm going to talk about is really my life journey and the milestones and the pillars and the things that I think are important for you to actually have on this journey, all right? For some of us, when we were starting, I gave you a handout, and that handout had levels of value. Now, we didn't get to talk about those levels of value. Now, today, I want us to start with those levels of value. Because, again, we must be able to understand that wealth, overall, when we say that we create content, we show up so that we can market, so that we can be able to make money, that means we must understand what is the dynamic of wealth, and wealth is actually a spiritual thing. And those that have understood have been able to actually create the wealth or make the money or get rich. It's not by coincidence. It has an art, it has a science to it, all right? So when we go through the 4 levels, now the 4 levels, actually I got a different revelation of the 4 levels at the different realms and the different spiritual realms of wealth creation. So level number 1, if you can have, you have those, what are they called? Steps, right? 4 steps. The step number 1 down is actually implementation. Step number 1 is implementation. Now, step number 1 being implementation, this is the muscle level. The muscle level where you are an implementer. You are told to do something, you do it. All right? You have someone someone has employed you to actually do something, whether to wash clothes, whether to chop the firewood, whether to dig, whether to whatever it is, even in employment. All right? That is the implementation level, as in we use the muscle. We are doing a lot of work. And so many people usually say, you know, hard work, you need to work hard. But again, there is a spiritual realm of wealth creation where you must outgrow the hard working and work smart. Because the muscle level is where you're like, my strength, because your strength stops somewhere. That is why you see when people work too hard, sometimes they fall sick, right? Your body gets exhausted. That means your body cannot be in 20 places at the same time. You must be in one place at the same time. That means your hands cannot do two things at the same time. Your hands are going to do one thing at the same time. Now, time is another resource that is limited. You cannot increase your 24 hours and say, I'm going to have more time. So that means you have your muscle times the time that is limited, and you can never get rich doing work like that. You can never get wealthy doing work like that. And that is the implementation. That is the lowest level. Now, the people that are under implementation, if we can gauge in our country, they will go between 50,000 per month to around maybe 1 million per month. That is the best that you can stretch to earn. Because whoever is employing you is thinking about IFRS, is thinking about inflation, is thinking about, as in everything has, is taking so many things. So they are thinking, I must also survive as a company. So I am just going to give you the bare minimum. And guess what? You are going to do what I can't do or what I don't want to do. All right? When you employ a person to come and clean your house, all right, you're saying, I need to clear this bandwidth so that I can do more creative things and more things that benefit me than starting to scrub and starting to wash and starting to iron. I have better use of my time. So now you employ someone who can do it. That is muscle. So by that woman making 50,000 or 100,000 every month, tell me when she will become wealthy. That means she can only extend her time and say, I can become wealthy in 30 years if I'm able to use my money properly. That means denying myself everything and making sure that I live on the bare minimum and save Kalito so that I can progress and maybe buy a land somewhere, and that land will be somewhere in the village. So do you understand that now their wealth creation has been expanded to 30 years of their life using their muscle? And by the time they are 50, they are still washing clothes. But you've seen these ladies. By the time they're 50, they're still begging. They're saying, what can I do for you? Can I clean your compound? And that is the time where they should have been maybe retiring, and they're tired, but they even have sicknesses, but they are trying. Why? Because they were on implementation all the rest of their lives. Number 2 level is unification. At the level of unification, this is where people go from implementation and they are promoted to the level of being a manager. So they are using management skills. Management skills, remember, they are managing people. So they are managing implementers. What time do you arrive? How much work did you do? No, I'm not going to pay you for this. I'm not going to, you get it. And let me tell you, even money at the unification level, it's a hard job. Managing people. You would rather manage animals, because when you take the cows out in the evening, they know what time to come back home. They even know home. They can even lead you home. Human beings. You will give them a code of conduct, they will do something different. You will give them a company policy, and they will do something different. And they will all come with their own temperaments. Others need tight supervision. Others don't need supervision at all. There are those, when you supervise them, you're breathing down their neck. They're not doing the work. There are those that need micromanaging. You must be like a baby. Now do this. Now do it like this. And you're like, eh. So now, at that level, in Uganda, according to our economy, they are capped at around 5 million. When you see any manager, and that is high, there are those that are earning 500,000, but they are also managers. There are those that are earning 1 million shillings and they're managers. So that means they will range between 300,000 and 5 million. That is the top that they can be able. Now, according to our economy, you marry and give birth. And even if you're earning 5 million, you buy pampers, you buy milk, you rent a house. You have a car, and even if you're paying a loan on it, there is a way money just goes, and you're like, but I get. So back then, 5 million used to be a lot of money. Right now, when you get it, literally, it just vanishes. You're like, but what have I done with this money? But remember, someone is giving you, just like the Bible says that God supplies from what? All right? But because you are at that level now, at the level of unification, that is where we put a red line. We are still going 2 more levels. All right? But at the level of unification, we are using management skills. We are using leadership skills. And that is tedious, because sometimes the managers leave later than the implementers. They must see to it that everything is done. That means you're working longer hours. And then they will tell you, no, we have capped you. You have signed a contract of 3 years. There is no increment on that, on that money. And you know it. And sometimes because you're like, but where will I go? So we resign to being in the same place, dissatisfied for the longest time. Why? Because we are not seeing anywhere to go. And then that is how people start being toxic. Because you're not satisfied, you are in the same place, but you cannot take risks. Because wealth creation is risk-taking. It's going from safety to saying, you know what, I have been in this nest for the longest time. Now it's better I tear this nest and learn to fly. It's possible I might fall and break my neck. But again, it's possible that the wind will carry me and I will go higher. All right? So it's a risk. So if you want to stay safe, you will never be able to break even as quickly as you want. Number 3, we go to communication. Now, at the level of communication is when someone is sick and tired of being sick and tired. And they're saying enough is enough. Someone has been giving me some of what they want, but right now I want to see, to stretch my faith and see how much I can be able to make. So at the level of communication, that is where we have the marketers, you know, because then they're like, you know what? Don't give me your salary, but I will go knock the different doors. So that means I can determine my own check at the end of the month, even if I'm a freelance marketeer, even if I'm an, what are those called? Network marketing, you know. That is where we have coaches right there at the level of communication. That is where we have public speaking. That is where we have, that is where we have the artists. They do a concert. They're determining and they're saying, you know what, when we promote so well, when we do this, when if I can go to 8 bars in one night, they're writing their own check. Are they getting tired in the process? Yes, they are getting tired in the process. But they're determining and saying that, you know what, I will be able to actually make as a coach. If you start promoting yourself, creating the content, building your brand, you can determine and say that, by the way, in 2 weeks' time or in a week's time, I can be able to make 2 million shillings or 3 million shillings, depending on the schedule that I'm giving myself. If I can be able to meet the clients, if I can be able to push out, I told you, content creation is like an office. When you open up in the morning and say, good morning, I have opened my office, people think you're in service. So now they know where to come to. The moment you keep quiet and show up at your office and all look cute and handsome and just say, you know what, people know that I'm a coach. Hey, we forget so quickly. And guess what? There are so many coaches. So while you're not promoting yourself, there is someone that is promoting themselves. There is someone who is in my face all the time. And the more I consume that person, the algorithm gives me that person. So before you know it, that person is a trusted person in my eyes. So that is where I am running to all the time. And guess what? I'm not alone. Maybe there are 100 people that feel that way. So that means we are all flocking to one person. And the one that thinks, I can do whatever I want, whenever I want, however I want. Huh? You start getting, disappearing. They don't know. Yeah, people we are so forgetful. These days, actually, we don't commit anything to memory. Some of you don't even have your husband's numbers in your mind. Yeah. There's someone who told me they don't know their wife's number. Yeah. Yeah. Because everything has been made easy. And they are spoiling us, left, right, and center. So everyone is actually spoiling us. Yeah? So we don't want to get spoiled. This thing is about doing the work. All right? About doing the work. So even when you're at communication, do you see that people arrive at communication, they've started their own business, and then they self-sabotage? You start your own business, and then you show up at 11. You start your own business, and you are at the level where you can write your own check. That means the more time you give it, the more you show up, the more you reinvest, the more, as in, you have all those options at your disposal. But now you're the boss. You are what? The boss. Like, but Coach Lavender. You're like, yeah, I am the coach. Not knowing that a name is actually nothing. You better call me Hilda, but when the money is coming. Yeah, call me Hilda. All you want. Even give me another name. A name that I don't understand. So this is not about, oh, CEO. And everyone is creating, oh, CEO girl bosses. But how many CEO girl bosses are showing up the way they have to show up? But guess what? When you tell them put on fluoro and come, they will hype and come, but ask them what they're doing in their businesses. Huh? They don't call back clients. They don't. Recently, I was thinking about, buying something, and I'd stopped buying this thing from this person a long time ago. And then I get surprised. I'm in a session, and then I'm getting this call. This person is actually also high caliber person. And this person is calling me after 2 years. And they're asking me, I've taken long to see you. Guess what? Yesterday, I had a meeting with that same person. And in that meeting, I sent her 1 million shillings right there and then on phone, without even them having delivered the services. They delivered the services today. But if she had not called me, I would have procrastinated. I would have said, my money has better use. You get it? But she called me, and I was like, why is she calling me? Because I could not even expect that this person would actually call, because they are busy. But when she called me, I was like, I've taken long. That was a personal touch. And let me tell you, chances are, I am going to buy those services from her for the next 20 years because of only that one single follow-up. So some of us don't want to follow up. Some of us don't want to even respond to messages. And then you're like, I am too busy. Too busy doing what? I am seated in office waiting for people. So now the level of communication, that you write your own check. You're still putting in the work, you're showing up, but you're writing your own check. The fourth level, that is imagination. Now, the fourth level, remember I've told you that every different level is a higher realm of spiritually creating wealth. So it is not by muscle, it is not by power. No. We are working smarter. So the level of imagination, that is where people have YouTube channels. When you have a YouTube channel, the other day, Pretty Brainy Wife was telling us that Google has existed for how many years? For so long. That means it is still going to exist for so long. That means even if you you've posted a video today, after 20 years, you'll still be monetizing for as long as people are still watching that content. So now you have created the content, you have put it there. You're not going back to create. You have already created that content, but you're earning from that content. That is your imagination being paid without your body being there. When you write a book, people are still buying books, but you're not rewriting those books. All you're doing is publishing and publishing and publishing, and people are buying the books. When people post their songs on iTunes, on all those playlists, they are still getting money. But they're not actively doing any work to earn that money. All right? Now, that is the level of imagination. That is a higher level. But it's only people that have, number one, the mental wealth inventory. The mental wealth inventory. That your mindset is strong enough to know what to attract and what not to attract. Do you know there are people who know that, for me, I will die doing manual work. That is all I know. That is also their mental capacity. So the mindset, that is why I say the 98 versus 2. The 98 are still figuring it out. The 2 are saying, I am all in. I am not in the middle. No, I am all in. So I'm going to take all the risks. I want to write my own check. I want to show up. I'm not going to stay in between and say, my leg is here and my leg is here. No, I am going to decide. That is a mental wealth inventory that you must be able to actually check. And that is number one. We are talking about building wealth. Number one, under the mental health inventory, your wealth level will be determined by the level of spiritual operating, or the level of the level that you're operating on. So you see that different levels, people make different kind of wealth. But we have discovered, but for people helpers and coaches and public speakers, you are at the level of communication. So that means you must be able to operate at that level and seek to get into the other level. And that is very possible. So that is going to determine your wealth. Number 2, your wealth is determined by your ability to create value. Because we have called it a value chain. Okay? So now, the higher the hierarchy in spirituality, you must be able to also translate that into value. Because what people want is value. Find a bigger problem. A bigger problem to solve. Okay? A bigger pool of people who need that solution. Do you know there are people who even determine and say, these kinds of people that sketch and say, these kinds of people that I'm creating this solution for actually have deeper pockets. Have you seen people who are that calculative? Now, there is purpose to it, but there is getting in your purpose and understanding that now, you remember we start deep and then we go wide. As you go wide, you get to understand that, by the way, there is a caliber of people that have been left out. Everyone is serving the mass market, but there's a blue lagoon somewhere of people that are uptown, but they need a lot of credibility. They need to trust you in order to deal with you. They know more, right? They are wiseacres, but they have deep pockets. So when you look at what they need, that is what we call the blue lagoon. That you can create a school, okay? Or let me say a kindergarten or a daycare. And you're like, I am going to strategically place this daycare in Muyenga. And it's not going to attract everyone. It's possible that I will have 5 kids in that daycare or 10 kids. But guess what? Those 10 kids each will be paying 5 million a month. And their parents, by the way, most of the parents, when they come and they park and they see so many kids, they take their kids back to the car. And they go somewhere else. Why? They want personalized touch. They want you to play with their child, understand their problems, their learning needs, you get it, their language. And so even when you're giving them reports, these days they will give you a report that has your child's picture, and then they will tell you all their strengths, and they will tell you, and in your heart of hearts you'll be like, these people actually understand my child. They took the time. But guess what? You're paying through your nose. Now, that is a blue lagoon. If you create a service where you want everyone to come, still there is not going to be a personalized touch. And it's going, or you will have a personalized touch, but it will not be as deep as the other one. So you realize that even in purpose, there has to be a level where you come to and you're like, I must be able to make my calculations. I must be able to make my calculations. I am passionate in this, but I must be able to position myself strategically if I actually want to make more money. Right? So that means there is also strategy. There is being clear on what exactly you want. So that means if you're serving more people that have that particular need and they're willing to pay for it, you're making more money. If you're serving few people that don't even know that they need that service, chances are no one is buying. And then you're going to say, but these things don't work. There is strategy attached to it, and God giving you wisdom. And it's possible He can give you that wisdom. All right? And then you must ask yourself, how devastating will it be if that problem is not solved? Because do you know that we pay according to the level of urgency that we have? So if it's going to be so devastating for me not to have it, this thing of people fearing to miss out, do you know why sometimes they will use influencers to, let me market a certain clothing line? When you see people putting it, going to the beach, looking all nice, you're like, I don't want to miss out on that line. Eh? I don't want. So now you are creating a solution, but the people that you're serving are the kinds who you've put them on their tiptoes. They're like, I can't miss out. I don't want these things to actually run out. So if it is devastating for those people not to get that service, that means the more they will get into their pockets to make sure that they actually, that is why relationship is something that will always be monetized. Because people have issues. It will always be a source of stress. So whoever is curing stress actually has the market. Yeah? And then whoever glamorizes what it means to be in marriage and to create affordable goals and to create that, people also want that because they're like, that is a solution. I want that. So you see, the one that it is one thing, this is relationship that you are, but there is one that is treating, one that has those soothing sports and, you know, massage, essential oils, stress coaches and stuff like that. But there is also this one that says marriage is the best place to be. Look at me and how I look cute, you know, and everyone is like, that is possible. And then they also want that. And then there is, even prayer warriors they can eat money for people in relationships. Yes. Yeah. Because then they're like, you know what, I think there is something following you. Why is it that everything is happening to you? Either if there is someone who can create a spiritual warfare course when it comes to... I'm not kidding you. I felt that on my heart for a long time. And guess what? Everywhere I go, if I'm invited to a company and like passively I mention it, I have like 7 people following me to the car wanting to sign up for the course of spiritual warfare. And I'm like, no, no, I'm not about to create a spiritual warfare course, but I can have a one-on-one with you and be able to map out what exactly the issue is. But people are stranded. And if they can get, why do you think pastors, sorry? I'm not saying anything better than that. Lest you quote me and say, woman of God said this. No, I'm not. I know. They will. You're not getting me. You are not getting me. You're not catching me off guard. But I will tell you that we will run to churches with our problems, and all we need is hope. The moment you say, it has gone, you're like, it has gone. And then you go back to find it at the door. You get it? And sometimes we need someone that has the heart for it. The one that can intercede on your behalf. The one that can write that name on that sticky note in their prayer chamber and say, God, if you really called me to this, no one of these people should get lost. No one of these people should get stagnated in their marriages. And they will make you a prayer point. So that means we need personalized touches. We don't want to be able to submit to places where no one knows about us. I am off that chapter. Next. Next. You're not taking me back. You are not taking me back, okay? So, you have to be able to be concerned about the people that you are helping. Stop making yourself the priority. You are not the priority. Make the people the priority. Because when you make yourself the priority, then you start, I need to make this money. I need to make this money. How do I trick? How do I manipulate? How do I? No. If, however, you come from the other side, or how do I help these people get better? You're actually attracting more money. Okay? And this is how people understand value. And for those of us that are in content creation and those of us, whatever, people helping, I just want us to understand very, very quickly. How do people perceive value in whatever you're telling them, your content and what you have to sell to them or what you have to give to them? Because content, perception of value, people have they create perception. Creating brands is we are formulating perception. So now, this is what happens, and I found this to be very true with all my clients. Number one, people usually have past voids, things that they were not able to achieve in the past. But now, they feel they're in a position where they can be able to feel it. So they missed it then, but they can get it now. All right? So now, if they know that in the past I didn't get this, but I can get it now. If you are positioning yourself like that, then someone is saying, that is what I want. So it is a perception of, if, for example, you were not confident when you were growing up. You missed out on being yourself. You were the most timid person on earth. And now someone is telling you that when you come along with me, we are going to move on a journey. This is going to help you to build and take you from a place where you lack the confidence to a place where you actually have the confidence. Then I was like, that is music to my ears. I actually want that. So they have past voids. When you tell them that, you know what, you are going to come from a place where you were chasing after relationships and you were being kicked out to a place where you can be the queen that you are and attract a good relationship. Who doesn't want a good relationship? Then you have all the singles. They're like, that is exactly what I want. They have a void that they've never been accepted. There's always been rejection. What they want more than anything is acceptance. That is why deliberately selfish has never stopped selling. Because that's the bridge that it actually bridges. And you're like, you go from a place where you're not needed to a place where people are dying for you and are chasing after you. And the place where all the useless people are cutting themselves off. Because the moment you know what you want, everyone that is not adding value to you will cut themselves off. Because then you will not need them. Even if you try in your heart and you're like, but this person looked cute 2 years ago. But what happened? Do you know that? Yes. Do you know that sometimes you can love someone and you become foolish and stupid? Because that is all you know. The moment you build your self-confidence and self-esteem, and then you look at them 1 year after, and then you're like, why was I crying again? Why? Because you have built yourself. Okay, I want us to run fast because remember, this is an extended version, all right? And then there are some people that will perceive value depending on their present values. What I value right now. If making money right now is my thing, whoever talks about making money is going to be my friend. Right? If losing weight is my thing right now, so now they have a present perceived value that they want. So everyone that is giving that value, they see it as good and they want to consume it. So that is why you will see, when you're in a moment of losing weight, you will follow everyone that is talking about weight loss. Right? Yeah. And guess what? Like, you will never do anything. Because you see them practicing, you see them doing smanyi extended bands, smanyi doing what? But for you, while you're consuming, you feel like your body, you're losing calories while you're watching. You're not even doing anything. But the present perceived value, if I want it, I want to go for it. So present yourself as, or strategically position yourself as that. And then there is the future visions. There are people that have future visions and they're like, you know what, I want to be a billionaire. Okay? And so, if I talk about wealth creation, they're like, you know what, I really want to build wealth and leave my children's children with wealth. So whoever is talking about building this wealth and managing my finances and investing, that is my, and generational wealth, that is my kind of person. So do you see how people perceive you? So as you create content, a time will come when you can be able to position yourself according to past voids that people have, okay? And they want to be filled. And some of us will present ourselves as the present values that people want to attain now. And then some of us are going to position ourselves as the future visions that people want to be able to achieve. When we talk about the vision parties, what we are talking about is something that I want to become. I am not yet that. But if you're going to tell me that to come and join my vision board party, you are going to pay 300,000, I guess I'm paying so that I can pin the same pictures that I pinned 5 years ago on the board, and hopefully I'm going to, by the way, even if someone is not willing to do anything about it, they're going to come and they will pin and they will even make prayers and they will say the biggest amen. Like this vision board, the law of attraction, it's going to come to life. And other people will give testimonies. You know, this, I put this on my vision board last year and then it came to pass, and you'll be like, yeah, mine is going to come to pass. Problem is, vision boards do not materialize on their own. Yeah. There is work into it. Okay? But the thing is, if you position yourself like that, because people have future perceived visions, they want to join you because they want something out of it. All right? Now, do we understand all these three? Yes. So if you can have all these three, people will say yes to whatever help that you want to give to them, because what they want is fulfillment. Pillar number 1 was the mental wealth inventory. Pillar number 2 is the verbal wealth inventory. The verbal, okay? The quality of your life is going to be directly proportional to the quality of your communication. So this is true. Verbal wealth inventory. Okay? How you communicate is going to determine how you earn. This ties into content creation. It ties into public speaking. It ties into how we position ourselves. It ties in when someone asks, what do you do? How you position yourself in that moment. Okay? Is going to determine whether you're going to get a business. Why do people pitch? Why do people pitch? Let's congratulate Flavia, by the way, on her victory. Yeah? I saw her do her thing, you know? And I was like, whoa. If there is any level of person that is hyper organized, I think that is Flavia for us in Kampala. She was there all tucked in, all her slides crisp. And I was like, yeah, go get it, girl. Go. Yeah. I wasn't surprised. I wasn't surprised. I knew that was coming. Okay? But how you stand in front of those people, how many people do you think were pitching? There were many. Yeah? If you have watched Think Tank, you've seen people pitching their ideas. When they ask you one question and it throws you off balance. Because they're like, I want to invest money, but I should be able to invest money in someone who is so certain. Do you know certainty is something that actually causes any kind of investor? If you can tell me that this hairline, that this, whatever it is that you have to sell, and you're like, you position it so well, but what I am reading is the level of confidence and certainty in whether you believe in what you're talking about. If you just want to make money out of it, I am not investing. If you have a higher conviction beyond just making money, I am with you on that journey. Because I know you will spend sleepless nights. Because I know even when we make losses, we are going to turn around that business. Because I know you're not about to give up on it. But if it comes from outside, if I have to ask you questions and then pull out all the data from you, that is why some people say, oh, but I am so good, but I don't know how to talk about myself. Learn. No one is going to talk about, but what services do you give? You know, now, okay, I'm going to send them in the text. Don't send them in the text. Tell them to me right now. You know, like, what do you do? I'm a public speaker, and then someone asks you, so what do you speak about? You know, I speak about nearly everything. Like, no one wants everything. Can you sort out yourself? Where does your heart gravitate to? All right? So, the verbal wealth. And even the Bible says that the power, God has placed the power of death and life under our tongue. All right? And when you remember, actually still in the Bible, it says that you will declare a thing and it shall be established. So that means our tongues have a lot of power. So we must be able to sow good seeds with our tongues. Some of us, when you say, but I don't think this thing will actually will make it, you're in the 98. But I think this coaching thing, this public thing, speaking thing, there are so many public speakers. Yes, there are so many public speakers who are doing kwara. And God is raising up an army of people that are going to penetrate people's hearts and speak what is in people's hearts, that you will stand somewhere and God will give you a word of wisdom, and someone will be like, how comes this person knows me that much? Right? Because you're not just a mere public speaker. You're not just there to get money from people. You are there to deliver impact, and you are there to deliver transformation. So, convey the value that you created clearly. Number one, convey it clearly. Some of us, we are just not clear. And the biggest mistake that we make, by the way, is thinking that it actually happened. You know, when you go to a place and you speak, have you ever had a speaker who speaks and then you're like, oh, what did they speak? Or a preacher preach and you're like, but like the whole hour has gone. And you're like, what did they talk about? You're looking for it. You were even ready with a pen and a paper, but you stop at, you didn't write anything. And then you're like, okay, did anyone write? Like, what did they write? Huh? No, that is not what we are going to do. All right? And there's a quote I read somewhere that says that you didn't say what you said, but you said what they heard. That means impact is dependent on the hearer, not on the deliverer. So that means how they interpret it is what works. Okay, so now be very articulate when you are speaking, and I usually point this out and say, think like the PhD holder that you want to think like, but speak like a P7 chap. By the way, in this generation, actually speak like a P3 chap. In this generation, do you know what a P7 child can do? Do you know how much English they speak? Do you know how they can even speak English and you've not understood anything? So speak like a P3. But even a P3, sometimes I look at my daughter speaking things and twisting the mouth, and I'm like, where is that speed coming from? At that age, I didn't have that speed. I like, sweet, 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 sweet. And then their grandmothers are like, but you better teach the children vernacular, because whenever we come here, we really literally can't. Okay, so make sure that you speak in a way that people actually understand. That's why I said that we are all not going to create content in English. Some of us are going to create in our mother tongue. Ochichusako. And then you say it in Runyankore and everyone is like, Today I saw a TikTok video in Runyankore that had more than 200, that is 3,000 something likes. Not even 3,000, 3,063K likes. So there are people out there, and they are waiting for you to be able to come out and speak, but you're actually not speaking. So I want you to perceive it from how they understand, not what you speak, okay? Because you can speak too much and they actually don't get anything. So you have to be totally clear. You don't have to be in between. People don't have to ask themselves, what did they say? What did she say? What did she mean? Okay? No. Make sure that everyone in the room actually understands. And this goes back to the preparation, guys. Clarity goes back to preparation. If you need to be clear, make sure that you prepare, because the difference between professionals and amateurs is how they prepare themselves. So preparation should be much more than the performance. Some of us put a lot more work in performance. I told you of someone that I told that, you know what, you're planning that event, but don't plan for too much makeup, big clothes, manicure, pedicure, like everything else, and you forget to plan what you're going to say. Guess what? They planned for everything. The grand everything, grand entry, grand everything, like shaking everything. When they got to speaking, they could barely deliver a speech. Okay? Those are all learning curves. But let me tell you, I learned very early on that I would rather come with my own makeup. I failed to do professional makeup, because half the time when I put my face, I'm always correcting, but that eyebrow is facing north. And then guess what? I go to the bathroom, wash it off, make my own makeup, and then I come back to the event. Every single time I have tried professional makeup. I don't know, maybe one day God will deliver me. But let's not just prepare for Masape, for the arrival, for the grand. Let's prepare for the delivery. And by the way, it's better you come with normal clothes, but when you deliver, just like I told you, when you impact, you impress. But when you seek to impress, you don't impact. Okay? So preparation is very paramount. And I said this earlier on, that the reason as to why some of us are not clear about what we want to do is because we want to impress. So let's not try impressing. But let's go to the next one under the communication, okay? That is being concise. Guys, get to the point. People are busy, so they don't want to be figuring out where you're going. Aren't you busy? Yeah. When someone starts loitering around, someone calls you. And relatives have that good. And then they will start asking you, how are you? And then, hey, Oli Bulungi. They say, how are you? Oli Bulungi. And then they will ask that in 4 different versions. And then they will ask you, and in your heart, you're like, I am busy. Get to the point. What do you want? But again, when you say, what do you want? It will sound rude. So you're like, let me keep quiet. And you don't keep quiet. Okay, so be concise. Number 3, let me not get lost at that. Okay, communicate value by being compelling. Compelling. Guys, We don't just speak for the sake of speaking. That is why messaging is very. So now those are 3 C's, right? Have you seen them? Clarity, concise, you have to convey it concisely, you have to communicate it concisely. And number 3, you have to communicate it in a compelling way. Because people want to hear certain things. Don't just say, you know, these people who say, kukunyi, be cool. And then you will hear the same thing. You know? But have you ever had someone who says, these people who gather either batteries or broken bottles or something like that, and they're like, I don't know how they say it, but they're like, and then like someone will have intervals. Have you listened to those things? And they're like, Mama Nyabo, and then they will come back to Mazima, and then they'll be like, that is all compelling. Because when you are there and you're stressed and someone comes around your fence and starts saying that clearly, you will burst into laughter. They have made it compelling. When people dance on TikTok, it's not because they want to dance. Some of them, they're just compelling. You know, they're like, we must package this because every day we've been telling them we are selling these tiles and these tiles. Do you know that every day when you come to me telling me how you sell the tiles, I will never buy from you? But when you come to me and no chukwa or no garment, you know what? We are tired of doing content, please buy from us. I'm like, hey, I had already I had taken screenshots, but where is this shop now? Let me go. You know that alone can take you. So when people keep twisting and tweaking the content, it's because they want to position themselves as compelling. But have you seen people who want to position themselves as compelling and they become annoying? Yeah. So that means do not become annoying. Okay? Especially people who are not wholeheartedly. Do you know that when someone does something annoying, but wholeheartedly, you will love what they are doing? No, just imagine someone has decided, and they are taking off their clothes. You're like, you have the time you don't want to see, but you want to see. You're like, are they going to go ahead and actually do it? But when someone is there, but I will take them off the clothes, and you're like, but take them off. Don't just say that you're taking them off. So when someone sees you do it wholeheartedly, they're like, this person actually is so serious about this. So I need you to be able to say it in a compelling way. So let's go to the 3rd pillar, because the first pillar we understood the mindset, that is the mind, the mental, yes, and then we talked about the verbal, and now we have the community. Okay? The community that we must be able to create. One thing that God created about a human being is we all want connection, all right? So when we want connection, and there are types of communities, and I want us to go through them very quickly. There is the loosely connected community, and that is your audience. They are not so much connected to you. They are liking, they are commenting. Some of them are watching and they are not connecting. That is why your views will be high, but your likes will be. There are people who are following you. That is loosely connected to you. But there is a closely connected community. Those are clients that eventually decide to buy. And then there is a co-working connected kind of community where you hire people and you're like, okay, I need a graphics designer. I actually need someone to edit my content. I actually need, because these things, I can't do them, or I know how to do them, but I don't want to do them. Maybe I know how to do graphics, but if I decide to do graphics, I might take 6 hours to produce one post. Why don't I give it to someone who takes 3 minutes to produce a poster? Okay, so now that is, so you have you understood the 3 types? Number 1 is the loosely connected community. That is the audience on all your social media and people that are following you, or TV, radio, wherever. Number 2, the closely connected community. Those are the clients that decide to buy because they've come to your inbox, they've come to your email, they've come to your events. Now you actually have a bit of connection. And then you have the co-working connected community, and those are the people that actually work with you or work for you, all right? And we should be able to actually look at them and be able to cater for them as well. So ask yourself, how big is my audience? How big is my audience? Because the reason as to why we are saying be consistent is because we actually want to, when people see that you're consistent, even your following is actually going to increase. You're going to grow. Okay? So how big is your audience? If you want to make a sale, how many people can buy anything from you? Okay? And when you look at the community, there is contributing. The more people you create for, the more people you make contribution towards, the more people you are serving, and the more people can actually buy. So how big is your audience is connected to how many people can be able to buy from you, because it also has ratios, by the way. Because when you talk about the funnel, okay, with the lead generation is huge. And then in the middle we have the nurturing. And then down here we have the conversion rate. So the people that we are converting are actually less than the ones we are nurturing, and the ones that we are nurturing are less than the ones that we are leading into the funnel. So that means that we must be able to recycle and recycle and recycle until we have a bigger lead generation, until we have more people that we are nurturing, and more people are coming in. The more you do it, the more credibility you create, the more trust people have. That means the more you are having more people coming in, and when you nurture them, it doesn't mean that everyone that you nurture is going to buy. But the possibility of more people trickling in through the conversion is actually going to be very high. Okay? So you need to be able to create the communities, the audiences, the clients. You need to be able to know, how do I service them? How do I nurture them? How do I remind them about these services? How many of us have screenshot the same things? I am someone's client in this place who has never arrived at the shop door. I am always screenshotting. She's always there looking all cute and saying, now you can put on this pink one, and then you can put on this, you can pair it with this. And I'm like, now I will go for this one. I don't know whether she has in my size. Guess what? I've had her contact for how long? But chances are, next month I will appear. So she has been nurturing me for a very long time. That is why we should never give up. We do not nurture people and then all of a sudden we receive returns on investment immediately. So if you say, I want to show up on social media and then immediately I want people to buy, that is not how it's going to work. I told you of how actually Tim told me some time back when I was still on NTV. He was like, do you know that you are going to reap the results of being on NTV 7 years after you are off NTV? Do you know that people still think I'm at NTV? Some people still think I'm at NTV. There are people I meet and they're like, I watched you on Thursday. Oh my God, I don't leave home on Thursday without watching you. And in my heart, I'm like, is there another Bahati? You get it? And all of a sudden, now they're booking sessions, now they're coming to events, now they're buying the courses, and all they can refer to is, I saw you on Mwasuze Mutia. So now, if I was on Mwasuze Mutia and then after that I disappeared for some time, and I'm like, man, and Chikubye, Uganda, your name Manyi. So they will come eventually. No one will be coming. But there are those who will be like, like she's still here. It's like, this level of consistency. You get it? And because people are busy, I've told you people are busy, right? So sometimes they have their minds elsewhere. Sometimes they'll be like, one day I'm going to invite Pretty Brainy Wife to come and speak to us. And then all of a sudden, they get lost in their own problems. And then they come back a year after, and they're like, but I promised myself to call this woman. The Women's Day is coming. You get it? But show up regardless. Show up even when no one is calling, even when no one is buying. Show up regardless. Make sure that that cycle of lead generation, nurturing, conversion, lead generation, nurturing, conversion is still a cycle that goes on and on and on and on, and it never stops. Yeah, God does not call us to easy things. Business is not for the faint-hearted. So if you were thinking, I'm going to create a business so that I employment, that boss used to breathe down my neck, and then you come into business and you have to work longer hours. Now you're breathing down your own neck. Why? Because because you want to make more money, all right? I need us to go through the creating of wealth in business or in activity, all right? In activity. That means you must be able to start, number one, that is the fourth pillar. Number one is start building a business, a good business practice, okay? You have the business and you have the good business practices. Obsess about people's problems. What do they want? What are people? When you see Smanyi, Classy and Kavi and you're like, yeah, for us who are size, plus size, at least we have somewhere to go. You get it? Obsess. Do you know, when you obsess about plus size and you're like, anytime I want something, I can actually go there. And there will someone who will obsess about styling for more affordable. And there was someone who will be, you know, thrifting. So you realize that when you obsess and obsess, people will keep coming back to you, all right? And then obsess about your messaging. The good business practices. Number two, practice good management, money management practices. Some of us, especially when you go into business, especially like coaching, you are the goods, you are the inventory, you are the ones showing up, it is your brain. So this is what happens. You make more and spend more, or you make less and spend more. Why? You know, they show us this is about appearance, so I must put on that wig of 3 million shillings. No one cares about your wig. No one cares about what? You care about your wig. When you look into the mirror, then you're saying nchikubi, but no one is there while their marriage is shaking, and then they're like, now I want to go and see a 3 million wig. No one is thinking about that, right? So I need you to be able to have the good money management practices. If you don't want that particular thing, I've said it so many times, right now I'm in a cashless economy. Because I used to be an impulsive buyer. Like, whenever something would, and I have the money, I would be like, let it go, let it go. These days, I think twice, I think thrice. Do I really need it? Can I do without it? Can I do? Yeah, I've become more mean at where I spend my money. Do I really need that cloth? You know, you see it and you're like, oh my God, I want it in like 5 shades. Do I really need it? You get it? So I need us to be able, because business is so tempting. When you see the money there, half the time you're not thinking there is capital in there. Half the time you're thinking that is all money, and you're like, tugende tukolechi tuchikube. That is why you see so many people who will be in business but in debts all the time, okay? Or they are running behind every time. You don't want to be like that, all right? And then the third one is good investment practices. Good investment practices. Make sure that you understand. I know that we are all not going to invest in the same thing. These days I tell people who care to listen that, you know what, real estate is something that you really need to invest in. It's something that is really lucrative. Not everyone is that level of investment, okay? But the investment, where we are already investing in ourselves. Some of us are going to hire offices, rent offices. You are investing in yourself in order to actually make more money. So you realize that there are so many things that you should be able to look at and you're like, this is an investment, but it has returns on investment. Can I be able to patiently put my money there? People that are putting their money in bonds, people that are putting wherever it is, insurance. There is insurance that is actually both life insurance, and you actually, you know, there is also returns to that. So there is all sorts of ways. But as a business person, as a coach, as a public speaker, as a service provider, as one that is selling tangible products, can you learn to manage your investment? Have good practice, investment practices. Now, this has been quite a stretch, but I wanted us to walk that journey, to know that it's not just about the mind. It's how we speak. It's not about just how we speak. It's how we create communities. It's not just about how we create communities. It is how we actually put in practice the good business practices in order to get the returns on investment and to create the wealth that we actually need.